telling our customers to come and take a facility. So that was the core for me, right? Deep into sales, and it's something I kind of enjoyed. And then my career started in there. But the core part of me that liked IT and computer science was still there. It was still there, even though I was not doing anything remotely related to IT. And I went ahead to just continue the journey. And then with a stroke of luck, the bank decided to go into a payment business, right, which is called Squad. And then it just brought the two worlds I was into, having an IT background and then selling, and it merged both of them into tech sales. And that's exactly how the tech sales journey started for me. And that's how it's been, from GTBank straight into selling technologies. And then that's what I can pinpoint as the main starter from banking going into tech sales.
Thanks, Elvis. So you had indicated that you've had a background in tech and you've always had an interest which you never lost, right? However, would you say your background in banking made the transition into tech sales easier for you? And if that's the case, what would you have to say to people who maybe do not have a background in banking and they want to transition into tech sales?
So thank you so much, Dara. So easily, the whole idea of being a marketer, and I'll use that term here, in a bank is sales, right? Every morning, sales is tracked. How many accounts have you opened? How much have you brought in, which is deposit mobilization? How many customers have you given loans to? So sales is a very core part of banking. I'll tell you for free is why some people don't like to go into banking, because they feel targets and things like deliverables and KPIs are something they don't like. So whenever I go into banking, sales is something that is almost something you must do. So in terms of if that experience kind of formed or shaped the kind of success I've had in tech sales, yes. The kind of bank I was in, it was, will I say, very strict. KPIs were very strict, so it just made you go into what ways can I get this sale better. Typically when you have when this month you did like a target of 100, and the next month they're giving you a target of 1 million. So what that means is you have to just sit down and say, the way I've been doing things can work. How best can I do that? And that's the whole idea of sales. You have to start developing new strategies on your own to make sure that you can meet your set targets. So banking definitely gave me that discipline, gave me that, will I say, technical know-how to push beyond my strengths, push beyond what I know now, right? And then that was the easy part. The second question that says, those that are not into banking, how is it easy for them to morph into tech sales? I'll make it very clear. Sales is sales, irrespective if you're selling puff, you're selling akara, you're selling biscuits. Sales is sales. How can we move from having one sale to 10? How can we move from having 2 customers to 15 customers? So the only difference in tech sales is the needs are different. The customer segment is different. So you sell akara to individuals, right? For tech sales, you sell your solutions to businesses. So it now has to put you in a way that it goes beyond just oil and beans and akara. It goes into the technical solutions. Do you understand what you're selling? Do you understand the customer needs? I think that's just the only part that is a bit different. But if you've ever sold anything, it means you already have it in you to actually do tech sales. All you just have to do now is just brush up on the technicality, because you're not selling something really basic. You're selling something that is a bit technical. You just have to study it, and then you're selling to businesses that have technical needs. So what you need to know is a bit different. So to answer your question, if you've not done banking and you have some form of sales, right, is very easy for you to just jump in, pick up, the nomenclature of what you're selling, learn it, and then have a way to sit down and understand business needs of organizations you'll be selling to, and then you'll be good.
All right. Thank you very much, Elvis. That was very concise. So moving on to the next question, right? Let me take you back to when you were a newbie in sales, right? What were the challenges that you experienced at that point? What did you learn from it that you can share with us?
Okay, so with every organization you go into, there will be differences. There will be differences in structure, differences in alignment, differences in what can be done and what can't be done. Um, One of the things I learned during my time at United Bank of Africa was the boldness. Um, you know, as you go into your tech sales journey, one of the things you will learn is um, customers will have different needs, which is not what you have. So typically, I'll always use the Akara example. You sell Akara today, and a customer, you approach a customer, he says, "No, I don't want Akara. I want buns, right? Or I want donuts." So one of the things you will need is the boldness to go back to your team, go back to your management and your superiors, and tell them that we have Akara today, but somebody wants buns. How can we get it done? So one of the things I learned quickly is if you have that boldness to reach out to expand what you have, I'll tell you for free, sales is sales. So if you have to talk to someone that does not need exactly what you're selling, but you have a way to produce and get what that person needs to that customer, you have to have a way of having that boldness to talk to the people in charge, tell them that, this customer does not need Akara today, he needs bonds, and I need to get it to the customer. It's so easy because when you look at it, you always want to make sure that I'll tell you, for example, these are laba guys or people, you go to shops, you walk into a shop and you tell them that you want this radio, and he tells you no, wait in the shop, and he moves to another shop to get it because he doesn't have it. So typically one of the things I learned is having that boldness to speak to people in charge. When you work in a company, you always have a hierarchy. You have people above you that can get things done. At the end, you want to make sure that you give your customer what they want. So one of the things I picked up in UBA is them instilling that boldness, right? Talk to me if you have needs. You're talking to this customer or you're talking to this business and they want this a certain way. Come back to the drawing board, let the customer know that you can get that done, then come back into your team and find a way to just satisfy that sale. At the end, you want to always make a sale. That's the outcome that you want. That's the only thing that gets you recognized. So coming in to say, oh, I couldn't do it because I didn't have that product is not just enough. You need to come back and say, I'll get this for you. Give me this certain time. Give me this period. And you come back to your team, talk to whoever is in charge, and then get them to fulfill that sale. And that's something I picked up, and it has just shaping my career, even in other companies that I've worked, whereby I'm bold enough to come into the team and say, I've assured this customer, I've promised this customer this, I want to fulfill it. How can we get it done? So that's something I can just easily pick point as something I picked up in UBA.
All right, thank you very much for sharing all this. So on to the next question. What are practical and realistic things someone looking to transition or break into tech sales can start doing today? I think about people on the call who want to transition to tech sales. What are the things that they can start doing from right now to help them with that, with that journey?
All right, thank you. So, like I earlier mentioned, tech sales is not just any type of sales. Like, selling, biscuit is different from tech sales. So first is to understand the industry you want to go into. So tech sales is different, right? And why I'm making that very clear is because you need to learn. You need to be able to study. You need to be able to make research, especially if you don't have the background. I came from a computer science degree background, and so I understood APIs on a very theoretical level. I understood some of the language businesses want technically, right? So if you don't even have that background, it's even a little bit more difficult. So one of the things you need to imbibe is be able to study, be able to read, to learn. As human beings, that's something that will always be till the end of time. So you have to be able to learn and learn new technologies, because what you are selling are technologies. What you are selling are technical solutions. So they are not just off the shelf kind of solution. So today, some of the things you need to do is to have that habit of learning, researching new things, because you will hear new words. You have to interface with people that are very technical, right? And if you've ever worked with technical people, you know that it's just easier for them when you can engage them. you understand what they're trying to do, and you can speak their language. So that's the first step. The second step is, at the end, it's still sales. So things like negotiation skills, persuasion skills, these are things you should always imbibe. And I'll tell you for free, YouTube has become a very important resource to learn almost anything. So rule of negotiations, how to persuade someone, how to understand customer pain points, hearing or listening to, not just to reply, but listening to actually get where they're coming from. So these are soft skills that will enable you do very well in the journey. Sometimes you come into meetings and you're trying to sell, but you have just to sit back and listen, because when you listen clearly, you are able to know how to present the products that you want to put across. So first is the habit to learn. So you have to be very open to learning. That's the first one. The second one is to always make sure things like negotiations, listening skills, communication skills. These are things you should always just have just beside you. Have it in your rackets, and you can pick this anywhere. Today, every one of us here goes to the market to buy something, and then there's some price hassle. I want it for this price. You want to give me for this price. So those are just small steps that can just enable that negotiation spirit become bolder as you go in. And with these few things, technical side, sales side, and persuasion, I think you'll do very well if you have to venture into tech skills, tech sales.
All right. Thank you very much, Elvis. I was going to ask some questions, but you already covered them. Okay. What are some specific sales strategies that you find effective and you'd like to share to someone who is new, someone who is transitioning?
All right. So first is, as a newbie, you need to build network. It's something that is not mentioned a lot, but that is a very important skill in being a salesperson. Selling anything, you have to build network, right? And this can come in various forms: attending industry events, putting yourself out there. LinkedIn has become a very important tool for professionals to learn, showcase, and even network. So you need to build that base of people that know you for something and can trust you for it. So if you're someone that is always in your shell, if you're someone that always just like to be on your island, I think it will not be very helpful, because the whole idea of sales itself is to interact, get people who don't know you to trust you and do business with you. So I think one of the things that's very important is networking. So you have to make sure that you try as much as possible to reach out, try and make sure people know you, be there, learn. Do you get? Because of course, when as soon as you start networking, people now want to hear you, right? So it just goes back to the first thing I said then in learning. So as you're networking, you also have to find time to learn, so that you're not an empty vessel. Nobody just likes someone that is popular but is not very intellectual. So do your learning, try and make sure you know as much as possible, and then network. You need that in filling your pipeline. You need that in just making sure that if you have 2, 3 people going after one customer, that customer can look at you and say, I know this guy, and I know that if I go with him, I'll definitely get the best service. So those are just few pointers you can do. Craft a very good business profile and resume. If it's something you don't have today, just craft a good resume that people can see and know that you have experience in whatever it is you are discussing. Because sales is more of an experience journey than one with certificate, right? That's why you see people that didn't even go to school become very good salespeople, because it's something that can rely on certificate, sorry, but your experience will tell how much of a salesperson you are. So, with these few tips, I think if you're coming into sales, if you can just follow them religiously, you will definitely do very well.
Yeah, thanks, Elvis. So you mentioned three key things rather. First was learning, and then secondly, building a brand, and thirdly, LinkedIn.
Networking.
Yes, networking as well. So knowing that you're very active on LinkedIn, you have built a good brand for yourself. What are tips that you can share with someone or people who are just coming up and trying to do the same while learning side by side?
Okay. Specific to LinkedIn, I think in terms of building a personal brand, it's something you do very. You have to be very careful, right? The whole idea of building a personal brand for yourself is one that you almost cannot derail from. Some people live very different lives. Controversies they are in here, things they are in here. I think it's something that you must find a way to just will I say curtail, right? People should know you for something. There are people that today they know for controversies, and that's good. That's the brand they want to build. But going into tech sales, this is a journey where people will trust you with a lot. When you have technical integrations with companies, they offer that service to millions of customers. So if something should go wrong, I think it's your reputation that will be on the line. So I think in building a brand, you have to be very, very, very careful, very, very disciplined. Build a brand that people can see and say, okay, no, I'm getting you for this. I'm pointing you for this, and then they can hold on to that. Another thing is also having a strong foundation, mastering the tech landscape, because across this whole business, you have to see a lot. You have to interface with a lot of people of different backgrounds. So LinkedIn, for example, is one that you should always put out ideas. A lot of people put out ideas on LinkedIn. You should also try and learn, comment, be active. Go on people's and it's as simple as even asking a question. So somebody has put out something technical you don't quite understand. You can even go to the comment section and say, "Oh, can you throw more light on this?" It's not bougie, it's not fake. It's just you trying to learn. Do you get? And then one of the things I like about knowledge is once you have it, you almost all have it for life, right? So people can see you as a standout tech salesperson. They can trust you in interactions, and then you can just continue to make that brand something that is valuable to companies that might want to employ you.
Nice, very nice. So are there specific approaches you'd recommend for networking within the tech sales community or within the tech sales space community as a beginner?
Okay, so first off is I think like platforms like this is very, very important. I think it will scale you way faster than most will, right? You don't want to jump into forums of just professionals. They won't have your time. They won't be able to have that one-on-one interaction with you. So platforms like this would have you as a newbie coming in, and you can learn, right? So there are so many platforms like this one as well, but it's very important that you follow some of them, right? Take time to attend some Q&A sessions like this. I did a lot of it while I was coming up, and then even industry events, right? Be very, very careful to know that the tech sales sector is one you want to go in. So whenever you see programs, free or paid events, try and attend, right? Try and follow those events, and if it's something you can attend virtually or physically, go there and learn. The third one I would say is have some form of mentorship program you can join. There are so many tech sales executives or even managers all over the country right now. So interact with one of them. Just pick 1, 2, 3 of them. Let them know what it is you want. Let them know that this is a mentorship thing. This is you're looking for guidance in some way. And then just have that one-on-one interaction with them. I always make it as a point of duty that when I have people reach out to me in my DMs, asking questions or just trying to reach out, I think it's very important that I help them out, and I do, because at some point I had to reach out to people, a lot of big names now. I had to reach out to them when I just needed some clarity on how to approach things. The third part about mentorship is very, very key, because as you go into tech sales, as you join a particular company and you are a tech sales executive or a tech sales person at the company, these mentors will open doors for you. These mentors will tell you, "Oh, I come in here, right? You want to sell this to us? Come in. I'll help you reach out to the key people. I'll help you reach out to decision makers." So it's very important. Remember, when you initially engage them, it's also mentorship. But when you have the job and you're engaging them now, it has now become a partnership, and that just builds your network into something people can rely on, and something that when you join the job and then you're signing on a client in the first 2 weeks, people are asking, how did you do it? But it's just because over time you've had so many credits, and this is just you taking a debit out of that relationship.
All right, great. Thank you very much. So let's talk about how to leverage the current skills that people have, because there are people that are within different industries and they're looking to transition to tech sales. And some of them are in sales roles, some of them not. But let's pick for the people within, sales for different industries. What are skills that they could leverage, or for CEOs, people who have sold things, what are skills they could leverage on when they're looking to transition?
Okay, thanks, Dara. I'll just use typical examples. Is always how I like to pass information. So today you're a real estate person. So what you do is you help people rent houses, you help people flip houses, you help people sell their houses, and then you're trying to transition into a tech sales role. So it's like moving from uh, houses, right, to APIs and solutions, technical solutions. So typically when you were going into real estate, you have to know things like the space, square foot of the house. You have to know things like how the water runs, how the light works, is it serviced apartment. So these are knowledge points or data points you just have to know to do real estate properly, right? So I'm coming to you, I want to rent a house. I'm asking you things like, okay, is it serviced? Is it a terrace? Is it a duplex? So by default, you have found a way to learn all these data points. You know what a duplex is, you know what you know what a suite is, you know what a 2-bedroom apartment looks like. That's the same way you just have to move that knowledge and have it in sales, right? You now have to know things like technical, what is an API, right? What are payment gateways, what's SaaS, what is subscription pricing. That's the major difference, because you are selling already, but you're just selling houses, you're flipping houses. But now you're moving from houses to technical and technical solutions. So it just goes down to the first one. What are some of those will I say skills you have to do? So first is to have those technical skills. Learn what the technicality of businesses are, right? At some point during my journey, when I even approach a prospect, I already know what they want, right? I already know what they will ask me. I already know how my solution can fit into what they do. And by the way, I'm not even a full-scale technical person. But just the same way you were flipping houses, because I know what you want, I can't tell you I want a 4-bedroom terrace duplex, and you start asking me what a terrace duplex is. It just shows that there's some knowledge gap that you've not filled. So I think that's number one. You have to make sure that you're sound, right? And not just sound in anything, sound in the things you're trying to sell, which is sound technically. So that's the first one. Another skill that I know will come in handy is your listening skills. And listening is something that is very uh underemphasized, right? You can hear all day, but actually listening for pain points can help you close deals faster, right? um it, some customers want this, but you have this. Sometimes you just need to stay in there, listen. The faster you speak to a customer's pain points, the easier the sell, right? That's how I always take it. So once I meet you and you are blind and you need glasses, I can't sell earphones to you. But the faster I have, the more I can just present a glass to you. You're buying it straight up, and that sale is closed. And that just, I'll tell you again, the outcome of a tech salesperson is to close deals. That's why you're employed. That's what we want you to do. And that's the outcome people will recognize. So the faster you close deals, the more valuable you are as a tech salesperson. So listening helps you close deals faster by listening to their pain points and solving it. It's as easy as that. The third one I'll put in there is, of course, trying to do the hard work. There is hard work in tech sales, right? If I talk to 10 people and one person buys, or one person agrees to come on the solution I'm offering, if I want to close 10 deals, I really have to talk to 100 people. The math is very clear. So the hard work in engaging 100 people, finding out which of them is qualified, bringing them into your pipeline, talking to each of them one by one, and closing the deal is a game of numbers. And a game of numbers is definitely a hard, something that involves some form of discipline and hard work. So one thing you should know is to close more deals, you have to talk to more people. To talk to more people, you have to put in the effort. That's something you must always have in mind and something you must hold religiously. So if you can have these three things at the back of your mind, be technically sound, know how to listen, and do the numbers game, people will just wonder how it is you're closing the deals, you're closing at very fast pace, but it all just boils down to three of them. Over to you, Dar.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Ola, Ola Nuolua has a question. So we're going to take questions. There's a question and answer session. So you could just wait a bit till then. We're getting there. Okay, thanks for that, Elvis. Can you provide insights into what tech sales recruiters are typically looking for in candidates? This could help people who are looking to transition, prepare better for interviews or prepare better when they're reviewing their CVs.
Awesome. Just to have it as starters, right? I think I'll always do sales because most people see it as a job, but I kind of see sales as something that you do every day without knowing it, right? If I want to marry Dara today, I have to start selling myself, right? I have to present myself and sell myself. If I want to, if I want to go for an interview today, it's me selling myself to the company why they should hire me, right? So most interviews or sales interviews, tech sales interviews, I see them trying to handle the interview section like every other interview section. No, if you're hiring a doctor, it's different from hiring a tech salesperson. So in going into an interview or engaging a recruiter for a tech sales role, that is your first sales assignment. But in this case, you are selling yourself to the company, right? It's as easy as that. So if I'm a recruiter and I walk into an interview, I'm trying to hire you, the moment you start talking to me like it's a sales pitch, I know that you're the great guy. So that's one of the things I would advise whenever you're going into a tech sales role. Just remove the product you're trying to sell and put in your person as there. So start talking about why you're a good fit. Talk about why you can convince people. Talk about why negotiation is a core thing you have. First, convince the person to hire you. That's how they know you'll be good for the role. So sell yourself. You go into the role and start selling technical products, right? But in this session where you are faced with a recruiter, you are the product. And that's what it is. And that's why I kind of tell people that at some point, sales will no longer become a job because it will become too easy because everything you do today is sales. You go to the market to buy something, you interact with people, you want to take it at a certain price, they want to give you at a certain price. What you're doing right there, a sales event is just ongoing. So to answer Dara's question directly, I think some of the things you can do to get the role when engaging with recruiters is tell yourself, talk about your strengths, talk about the value you can bring to the company, talk about the things you have in terms of knowledge base that they would need. Whenever I go into I engage recruiters, actually maybe in an interview session, one thing I tell myself is after my session, it should be very difficult to hire any other person other than me. It should be very difficult. They will look at all the candidates and they can almost say that I sold myself the best, right? And that's what you should aim for. That should be the outcome you should have in mind. That when you go into a session where you're looking for a role, a sales interview for that matter, have that recruiter feeling like if he doesn't pick you, he's definitely didn't make the best decision. And that's just a sales event. Talk about your strengths, right? Talk about things that just would bring value to the company, right? Talk about your experience, which is something you should have. Talk about times you've surpassed hurdles within the role of sales. Talk about even weaknesses that you've transformed now into becoming strengths in the new role. And those are just some of the things that would make you stand out. But in general, you talking to a recruiter of a sale about a sales role, sell yourself. Just sell yourself and you'll be fine.
Yeah, that was a great one. Thanks, Elvis. So on to the next question. How has the landscape of tech sales evolved in recent years? And what should beginners be aware of in terms of industry trends? I mean, what were the things that used to be before that has changed? What are the new things that they should be aware of?
So the landscape has changed. I was thinking about this like a couple weeks back. From when I started the journey for me to where it is now, it has changed. The expectation is now high in terms of how knowledgeable a person is. You go into some sessions now, and it's almost a technical interview. So you go into some interview for a sales role, a tech sales role, and they're asking you questions like you are the CTO, right? So one of the things that has changed is uh, the 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 needs of businesses have increased. So people now expect you to know more. Technically, even just looking at the basics, right? 5 years ago, some technologies were not available. Today, we have those technologies on the rise. People are using them, and businesses want to come on board. So, expectation for technical, knowledgeable people is now high, right? Every day you wake up, a new technology is being birthed, and you have to keep abreast with it. Regulation is now high. People don't just expect tech salespeople to just know tech or know how to sell. They expect you to know compliance framework. They expect you to follow up with what regulators are saying, right? Back in the day, regulators were not so strong in things involving selling technologies, but now it's becoming a whole industry on its own. The fintech ecosystem is becoming so big, regulators are coming in. So every day you have either the CBN or SEC or even other regulators coming in to say this is how we want things to be done. So once you go into a pitch or a tech pitch and you're not even keeping abreast with regulations or compliance frameworks, it seems like you're selling the wrong thing at the right time. So in terms of knowledge of just not tech, knowledge of compliance is now required. People expect you to know what is allowed and what will be allowed in the nearest future. So that's something that is very key. Another thing that is becoming very important is the targets. People expect high sales outcome from tech sales executives now. People expect you to do better. People expect you to close quality deals, right? People expect you to close high ticket transactions. So in terms of the landscape, expectation is now high, especially if you're just coming in. How easy it was for somebody that got into tech sales 5, 6 years ago is different now. You have more in terms of expectations, but it's just something you should kind of be prepared to do. It's fun. I think it has become a very fun ecosystem. That's why I appreciate things like this community. It helps you gain knowledge. It helps you, gives you that soft landing you need as a newbie, right? So somebody like me would know what to do, know where to get information from. But as you're coming into the space, it's very important for you to start following forums like this so that um, things you miss, people can help you. You can read them. Joining discussions like this can help you just broaden your knowledge in things that you need to know, because the expectation for tech sales employees has become high. They expect you to know more, and you have to live up to the hype. I think that's what I would say in answering that question, Dara.
Yeah, I totally agree with keeping up with the compliance bit. I remember one of the questions I was asked during my interview at InterSwitch was about CBN's new open banking policy at the time was new. So it was just like a random question from nowhere. What's CBN money policy on open banking? And I was like, me, I'm coming from financial data API. I know what is going on in this industry. So I started giving them back to back. Like, but to be very honest, right, it is actually an expectation to know what when CBN releases a new circular, when they release a new regulation, when NIPS comes up with something new. If you're interested in fintech, especially, to be able to follow up with the news and read it, know what's going on. So yeah, that's a good way to keep up with what's happening in the industry. Okay, I know you've mentioned that you'd always do tech sales, and that's great. So you always do sales. Would you consider tech sales a fulfilling career? If yes, why?
This answer to this question will be solely my opinion, right? I don't want you to agree, and you don't say because Elvis said this, I'm jumping into it. So that's for starters. So yes, I will always consider tech sales as a fulfilling career. If you can just deal with a lot of heartbreaks, sometimes things will not go the way you want. Sometimes you'll be short of your targets. And I think even if you decide not to do tech sales because of disappointment, life itself will throw disappointments your way. So you can't opt out of life because of disappointment. So that's the same way I take it to tech sales. You can't opt out of tech sales because there are a few disappointing days, right? So once you know how to deal with that, once you know how to put in the hard work, right? I always like it when I come up to my manager and say, I can't achieve this, or I couldn't achieve this goal, but look at all the things I've done in order to achieve this goal. So it's clear that I've done the hard work, but things did not work out. That's good. But when you don't do the hard work and you don't know how to deal with disappointment, that's when it becomes very, very sad. So it's a fulfilling career. I think it's one of the careers or we like say jobs you can go into and you really feel happy about the outcome, right? I think it's one of the jobs you can go into and you grow your own personal network, right? I always tell people that, and this was my time doing the bank, as an account officer, which has to do with relationship management, I had to talk to CEOs. I had to talk to very important people just to give them feedback on their account, and they will listen to me. So one of the things I saw about sales is it opens doors to people naturally you will not be able to walk into their office, right? You have very, very important people that are very busy and are very high net worth, and they tell them Elvis is on the call, and they'll say, no, give me, I'll take the call. And that's something sales does. And typically you find the same for tech sales. People that are very important, people that are very, very busy, flying from one place to the other. Tech sales open doors to those type of network. And one of the good parts is even after the deal has ended, these people still get in contact with you. These people still have relationships with you. And I think that's something that is very good. I don't think you see it in a lot of roles, right? Where you have one-on-one interaction with stakeholders. I'll give you a very classical example. During my time as an account officer, I engaged a business, a customer, and as at that time, she was a CFO, right? And then we always had this close relationship where I can give you details of what's happening on your account, or she needs me to do a favor, and I go on and just give premium service, which is just part of my job. And something happened, and then the CEO at her company left, and she was made the CEO. And this I'm talking about is a bank, right? This is a tier 2 bank. So she moved from being the CFO to being the CEO of a tier 2 bank. And happened to, as case will have it, whenever I call her, she will pick my call and still talk to me, even being the CEO of a bank now. So I think those are just the things, those are some of the reasons why I love the role. Aside the fact that it's open doors, you are happy with the outcome of the things you do. It just makes sure that you're a very fulfilling person. And then, of course, you need sales in every other aspect of your life anyway. So it helps you just sharpen those skills you need to do other things. So to answer your question directly, Yes, this is a role I enjoy. I think it's a fantastic one for anybody that wants to go in. If you already have the natural skill to talk to people, to negotiate with people, I think this would be a fantastic thing for you. And uh, it's a role I always want to continue. I don't think I see it stopping anytime. Of course, as you grow higher in ladder, the demands are more. I've happened to know, I now know how to deal with disappointments. I face it with hard work, put in the effort, and make sure I do very well. And with that, I think it's just going to be, in terms of reward, I think it's a very rewarding job to go into. So for newbies, if it's the money that is the perk, if it's the network that is the perk, if it's the outcome, having a good outcome of the job you do, that is something that makes you happy, I think tech sales is something you should definitely jump into.
Great, thanks, Elvis. So let's debunk and demystify some myths regarding the tech sales. In your experience, what are common misconceptions that people have about breaking into tech sales? Let me give an example. For some people, they might think maybe you require a technical background or whatever it might be. But what are common misconceptions that you've noticed people have about breaking into the industry?
Um, first of all, I'll just take the one you've highlighted, that you have to have studied computer science or IT or some technical things, or mathematics to come into tech sales. There's a reason why tech is in front and sales is at the back, because essentially it's a sales role, right? You just happen to be selling technical things, right? So that's it. So that is a fallacy. I think anybody can come into tech sales. You should always be aware of the terrain you are in. The way I am right now, if I wanted to go into construction or civil engineering, I definitely have to learn things about poles, things about things that we use in construction. So that's a given. Do I really, really need to be a technical person to go into tech sales? No. You need to be a salesperson to be in tech sales. So you need to know how to sell, because that's the core of what you'll be doing on a day-to-day basis. So that's a typical myth. So another one is you have to have some high level of accounting or financial background, or typically like I worked in the bank. No, you don't. Do you get? It's a role that has to do with things you already know. Like typically today, if we're going to buy something, you didn't need any skill or any form of certification or accounting degree to just hassle the price of what you're trying to buy and making sure that you get it at the price you want. So those are things that didn't happen and you're able to get it done. So I think that's also a misconception. It would be good to have some financial analysis, know the basics, right? As with everything, know the basics of how to make profits from a sale. Of course, when you're selling, there's a price, right? And there's a cost. Know the typical selling price minus cost price is profit. So don't sell things below your cost price. But I think that's about the only formula you need as a matter of need to go into tech sales. Yes, know what gives you profit, know what can make you scale and make more money, right? So those are just the typical finance aspects of it. So that's the second one. Another one is for some reason, people think that the role is filled with targets. Typically, like they will sack me tomorrow if I don't meet target, that it's too filled with target. People say it a lot. I don't like target work, but I've come to realize that anything that is not measured, you can't improve it, right? Today, if I want to know if I'm adding weight, I have to find a way to go to the scale and know what I weighed today. So tomorrow, if that number has increased, I'm adding weight. If the number has reduced, I'm doing well, right? So think of targets as just measurement, points of measurement. And if you switch it that way, you will never be afraid of targets. So today, we have 4 customers, right? Tomorrow, we want to do 6 customers. And it's always a way to even tell your employer, see, I'm doing well. I came into your company today and you had 4 customers. Now you have 7 customers because I brought in 3. That's always a way to defend your work. So people should not see tech sales as some target driven. No, don't look at target. Just look at it as points of measurement. I need to measure my impact. Some people like places where they don't do anything and earn salary. I don't know. My religious background will not make me feel good if I'm not doing the job I'm being paid for and I'm getting paid. So I even like when there are KPIs, because the good part is if I work hard enough and blast those KPIs, it becomes clear to everybody. You can't confuse it. So that's another misconception people have. Don't look at targets as target. Look at it as a point where your work is measured. You can get reward after the measurement is good. And if you're not doing very well, because days like that will come. And if you're not doing very well, you can sit with the people in charge and then you show them why things have not turned in your favor, right? Another one I'll just add, which will be the last one, is, and maybe this one is me agreeing to something others may not agree to. There is some luck that comes with tech sales. I think it comes with sales generally, but I think if the surface area of luck is wide enough, you can get lucky. What do I mean? So today, you can reach out to 5 customers or prospects, and 4 will come on board. You can reach out to 20 and 19 will come on board. You can reach out to 10 and just 1 will come on board. So there are days where luck will play in your favor if the luck surface area is big enough. So that's why I always say, think about effort and hard work. Talk to as much people so that when you get lucky, it will be resting on the effort you've laid down, because you can get really lucky in making sure that you're able to close deals faster and just be an effective salesperson. That'll be it for me, Dara.
Elvis, you bring a very fresh perspective to how targets should be seen, and I think that's a great thing. Let's take some of the questions in the chat boxes before we move or continue to the questions.
Awesome.
Nancy is asking, how do you break into the market by selling a good product without any marketing output? Is that question clear to you, Elvis?
So come again with it, Dara. If you can throw more light to it, I'll appreciate that.
Yeah. Let me see if Nancy's on this call. Okay, she's not at the moment. She's saying, how do you break into...
Can you hear me?
Yes, Nancy,
Yes,
we can hear you.
Good evening. Thank you, Elvis. You're doing really, really great. So what I was asking was, how do you get to sell a good product, right, without any marketing efforts? Meaning that, of course, imagine, like someone had asked earlier, for example, startups, their earnings are unknown at the moment, but of course they do have good products and don't necessarily have marketing outputs just yet. So how do you get to navigate that and then be able to put the products out there for the consumers in good time?
Thank you so much, Nancy. And you are just spot on. Especially startups that have, nobody knows you, nobody, how can you, and your product is good. I've been in that space for maybe 2 times now. I think I can answer that one clearly, and this is my strategy. I have a good product. The company that owns or which I work for that runs that product is not very popular. One of the first things I want to do is to have a partnership with a popular person. It's like a thing of the friend having a popular friend. Just think about it looking at our social space today. You have someone that is not so popular. By some way or chance, they always hang around with somebody that is popular. With time, the popularity of the lower one starts to come up. And I'll give you a typical example. You have a good product. The background or the company is not so strong. Try to seek partnerships with popular brands. So sell your main focus as soon as you get on that role is take that product, find a way to people that have that goodwill, as people will call it in finance. People that have that goodwill, people that are popular, get a partnership with them, let them like your product and key into it. And by some chance of partnership, let them publicize that partnership. So I'll give you an example. in how we do it today. So I have Elvis Startup. I've not raised any funding. I'm just a newbie, but I have a very fantastic product. I'll go ahead and look for who are the popular guys in the fintech space today. We look at MoneyPoint, we look at OPay, we look at InterSwitch, right? I will go on and sell my product to those three names. So Nancy, you can also sell that product to names that are not popular, right? But one of the things you want to do is to draw from the popularity of the big guys. So when they can key into that product you've sold and they like it, try to pitch to the communications team there or their corporate communications team there that you would like them to announce this partnership. And that always does the magic. You ride on the credibility of that known brand, and more people can now say, if InterSwitch is to partner with Nancy, I think probably they are doing something right. And this can just go on for banks, big names, FMCGs, and stuff like that. In fact, it's so bad that even popular brands partner with popular brands and make it public. Do you get? Because that's just a rub-off that what people can do. But for you that is not so popular, that's a way to just cash in on somebody that has already built a very big brand, right? And then slowly you will see that people will come to do business with you based off that partnership you can do with a big guy. I think it works. You can try it, it works. So a smaller guy will still give you the money and buy your product. But if Elvis, an unknown person, is doing business with a Louise, an unknown person, they'll just feel like these are just one small league doing nothing. And I'll tell you, I'll just wrap it up with this example. Look at boxing. Today, you see a match where a popular boxer is going to fight with a YouTuber, right? Somebody that is not even in boxing. And a lot of crowd just comes in. Whether the lower guy wins or even fails, I'm sure he even plans to fail anyway. But his popularity just skyrockets, right? Just based off that match. And what he has just done is to rub off from the popular boxer. I think that works, Nancy. I don't know if I'm able to throw some light to it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. That was very clear and spot on. Thank you, Elvis.
All right, thanks, Nancy. So in addition to what Elvis has said, which would definitely boost awareness from a marketing standpoint, I believe that another thing to consider is outbound sales, because you'll be doing a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to outbound sales as opposed to inbound sales. So that's another thing. You'll be meeting people directly to sell to them if you're not popular in the market yet. And it would also be great to work with your marketing team in-house to see how you could, work towards creating awareness. Okay, yes, thank you very much, Elvis. So we have another question for Mark. However, Mark just left the call, so let's wait for him to come back. Before Mark, while we wait for Mark to get back, let's go back to the questions that we debunking myths, right? AI will replace tech sales professionals in the coming years. What's your take on that, Elvis?
This question is a very tough one for me because I'm already a pro sales guy. So I don't want to just throw AI into the dustbin. But I'll tell you something, right? And that's because I have had to work with a lot of AI tools. There is some human fear that is about sales, right? And I'll tell you, for example, I see some people who go to ChatGPT and just pick up a post or draft the post and post it. There's this human touch that everything just looks robotic when you take a post from an AI than when you make that post originally. And you can take this as an example. Just go through LinkedIn and look at people's posts. You can almost tell that there's this soullessness, and please forgive my language, that comes with AI and the tools, and even using them to do stuff that humans would do. I did AI. I went to computer science. We did AI as a course for maybe 2 years. So I support AI. It's there to help humans achieve things at scale. But you see, the whole idea of sales as a role is a heavy human interconnected activity. People ask me, do you prefer virtual meetings or physical meetings? I tell them physical meetings. In a virtual meeting, you can, especially if the video is not on, you can just be even playing Bet Niger and listening to me. But when I'm in one-on-one interactions with you, I see into your eyes. We have that one-on-one interface. I've had people that, you go in to sell something and there's an emotional twist that makes them buy. I'll tell you today that even sales as a thing is an emotional activity. So we AI completely replace tech sales as a job. That might happen, but not in the nearest future, right? We AI enable reach, extend outbound reach, extend marketing efforts, make more eyes come to your product. Yes, things that involve repetitive work, things that involve things that people can just jump on you. I think AI is perfect for that. But uh, if I had to go to a store that had an AI serving me, or I had to go to a store that had a human serving me or taking my order, I would definitely want to have that human interactions. Currently, I'm in the UK, and when you go to the McDonald's here, you just have like a board where you just select what you want, and then the order is ready. You pick it up. I always prefer going to that restaurant where somebody walks up to me and engages me. And that's just me. So we AI do the magic. I think AI is a fantastic tool. It will definitely help sales efforts. Would it completely eradicate the whole role? I don't think it will. I don't think it will. I think it's something that as sales professionals, we should learn how to use it. We should learn how to make it do our work easier. But if you ever had the chance to have one-on-one engagements, you will definitely see the difference in having just a tool do the magic for you. And this is definitely my opinion. So will it take off the role? No, it won't. Can we work together with some of these fantastic AI tools to draft some good stuff and make our sales pitch better? Yes, we can definitely do that. So that'll be my response.
Thanks, Elvis. Very spot on. Mark asked questions. Lucky Mark asked the questions. The first one we've answered. The second one, how do you break into industries like fintech when you do not have the working experience from banks and other financial companies? When the hiring requirements demand this most of the time?
Mark, I'll tell you, it's a tough sell, right? And the tough sell is not even in you as a person, not being a banker or having that experience. The tough sell is in the demands most of these recruiters put on roles these days. I think is becoming tough. You see some requirements. You know that some of them are not a direct need to the role, but because of this format, we're just a country where people can follow a format and nobody's even questioning, is this format still relevant? So it's a tough sell, but I'll put some pointers. I think you can start off with internships. You can start off with avenues to learn. I think that works. If that's a requirement they have and you don't have it, you have to find a way to get it, right? Um, it's just sad because even when you go into the role, you now see that sometimes half the things they put in the requirement document, you didn't even need them for the role to be successful at the role. But it's just that you need to cross that hurdle to even, feature in even the selection process. So I'll tell you that, internship is always a great start. Find some of all these financial institutions, if that's entirely a requirement, to have some form of learning process. I think also uh, keeping abreast in finance is something that will help. So try and learn some of the things they will want to ask, because if you put that as a requirement, one of the things you can almost expect is that during the interview session they will want to gauge you and know if you know those things. Um, because you're because you're a salesperson, you definitely know how to talk about things that even you've not done if you read well for it. Do you get? So if you see internship, I think you need to just follow the slow path, right? Some of them might be paid, some of them might be unpaid. I think you can start there. The idea is to build experience. The idea is to build credibility. Uh, some of the things I've learned as a banker today will stay with me for life. I definitely know everything about banking because I was there, I did it, and even if at the time it's not what I wanted, but you can engage me today on finance topics. I'll discuss with you. You can engage me on almost anything that has to do with banking. I will engage you. So I think you should start looking at low hanging fruits. Where can you get some of these experiences at the lowest cost, where barrier to entry is very low, and then transition into the fintechs? I'm sure there can be valid reasons why some of all these fintechs want that experience, so that it just aids the whole process. But just look for low hanging fruits. I'll tell you, the finance industry is very large. Today, you have insurance companies, pension companies, banks, microfinance banks, finance houses, discount houses. So just look for some low hanging fruit you can use just to brush up some finance skills. And then that can just catapult you into the fintech space. I don't know if that helps, Mark.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, thanks very much, Elvis. So in addition to just to buttress what Elvis has said, I used to think that for you to work in a sales role at a tech company, you had to um you had to please hold on. I used to think to work in a sales role in a tech company, especially the big techs, you had to have a background coming from banking, or you must have worked in other fintechs. Uh Chimezie, please, your video is on and your home might be giving a wrong impression. Is it just me? All right. So I used to think that for you to work in a tech, big fintech, you have to be either coming from banking or you have other fintech experiences. But what I realized moving into my company was there are people that came from HR backgrounds, and working in my company was the first tech sales experience I had. And my theory would always be that interviews are a different ballgame from whatever. You can sell yourself so hard. Like the art of interviewing is an art on its own. Mark, Lucky Mark, so long as you've done things regarding sales, if you've worked in any kind of tech, it's a plus for you. You can sell yourself. Leverage the things Elvis talked about. Read about finance. Once you can sell that interest in fintech, right? Once you can sell them the fact that, oh, I looked up your company, I understand your product, I understand how your APIs work, I understand this, that, you have a good chance or you have some leverage at getting the role. Because I work with people that come from different backgrounds. They didn't work in tech, they probably HR or some other background, and today they're doing sales in fintech. So I do not think that should limit you in any way. Focus on selling yourself right during your interview process. Or yeah, that's my 2 cents to it. Let us move to the question. Yeah. Ivan is saying, how do you leverage generative AI as a sales enablement tool for organic growth?
Okay, awesome. So that's a very good point where I see AI coming very handy. For some of us that use tools like Sales Navigator and things like that, you want to reach out. The first thing I said was effort and hard work. So you want to reach out to 100 people, right? You want to find the fastest way to do that. And this is where AI would definitely help. It won't take over the whole experience, but it can take sections of your sales effort and just optimize it, right? Things like generative AI can enable you reach out to the exact leads, filter out the people that definitely need your product the most. right? Some of them have been infused in sales platforms like sales navigators and things like that, whereby you need to talk to 100 people. I can help you bring out the 100 people you should be talking to, and then I can draft messages and draft, will I say, pitches that you can send to all of them. And then in things like having to reach out to 100 people and draft specific messages to all of them, the AI tool can just enable that completely. And that's where, as salespeople, we should have interest in things AI is doing today, because at some point, the things you do manually with hard work, AI can optimize that particular process, make sure that that core part of, which is the hardest part of sales, which is prospecting, that core part of that hard part of your sales journey is made simpler, so that you can now focus on having to close the deals. And it's just something that you should research on. Make sure that whatever tool it is today that can enable you become effective, right? Be it AI, be it any form of a tool you see in the market today, any sales a tool you see, but both the one used abroad and used here, that can enable you do the hard stuff quicker. I think it will just help you close deals faster. That would be a good response.
Yeah, thanks, Elvis. So Donald is asking, I know you touched on this a bit earlier on, but probably it wasn't there during the time you touched on it. Saying, looking back at your career so far, what's one challenge that you faced, especially in the early stages of your career, and the lesson you took from it that you use till today?
So one of the lessons I learned is, or something that happened back then in my career, was when I started my career at GTBank. It was clear that I wanted to do tech. I wanted to go into technology strictly, and and that's what I studied. Is what I wanted to do. But then I was pushed to marketing in GTBank, and then it was very challenging at the time for me, because everybody in marketing had to have done ACCA or ICANN or some accounting degree. In fact, in my unit then, in the first 6 months of being in marketing for corporate banking, then you had to have an accounting certification. So that was hard for me, because I was like, this makes no sense. I'm an IT guy. Because I know how to sell doesn't mean I should switch to being an accounting person. And then in the first 1 month, 2 months, I had just this mental block. I didn't want to do anything. I almost wasn't putting my all in the job. Looking back now, of course, in the third month, I started, focusing on it. I knew that I was here. I'm in this, so I better make the best out of it. So at some point, I went to credit school for 6 weeks. The bank sent me to go to credit school with core accountants. And one of the things I learned now, looking back at that event, is you should know that every journey you are in prepares you for something ahead, right? I was going to end up in tech sales eventually. Tech sales had a lot of has some aspect of finance and financial aspects to it. Because of my core in doing those things, even though it felt like a chore, it made me very, very effective in things like calculating when I'm profitable, calculating how to scale a business, calculating how to do pricing dynamics. Those things made it very easy. So the part as a challenge is, which I'm trying to preach to everyone here, is you might be doing something different right now. The eventual goal is to go into something else. Always try and soak in as much information in that current role. You never can tell how they will come in handy in the future, but they always connect. So it's something now that I've learned, that even though you throw me into go and do something like just go and look at some front end and how they do their work, now I'm very open to learning new things, which is even different from my core, because going ahead in the future, they always connect. And that's something I'll just give like a word of encouragement to everyone here. Whether you're doing something that you like now or you don't even like, the knowledge part of it, gain it. have that at the back of, and just have it in you, because you don't want to always be prepared and have an opportunity to showcase that, and then because you didn't even learn it or you didn't pay attention to it, you are not able to get that done. So I think that's something that I learned. It was a challenge then to just have an open mind to learn something I don't want to learn. But one thing I've realized, that no knowledge is ever wasted. Whether you use it in the interim or you use it later, is always a plus to you.
All right, thanks for that brilliant response, Elvis. So you could keep your questions rolling in, right? I would read them out. For now, let me go to the Q&A from people who had registered earlier. So Elizabeth is asking, for someone who recently shifted into the sales field and initially focused on outbound lead generation, but now has the chance to gain practical experience in autonomously closing deals, what advice would you consider giving? What advice would you provide, considering their limited experience in deal closure? So the summary of this is that Elizabeth has been focusing on outbound lead generation. However, now she has taken up more responsibilities to handle her meetings end to end and start closing deals. So she also has targets now. What advice would you give her moving forward?
All right. So first, the core part of your former role was just get guys to come on board, get them to line up here, not no easy peasy. Just you want this, please come and line up here. But now, even getting those people to now come on board and use the product is a different ballgame. And when I was having earlier discussions with Dara, I spoke something about listening, listening to pain points. I'm telling you, if you want to be the fastest deal closer, I go into meetings sometimes. In the first 2 minutes of them telling me their problem, I know whether I'm closing this deal or not. So one of the things you need to pay attention to is to have that extreme listening skills. In fact, practice with your real life, right? Have people just come and tell you their problems. Just listen to them. That will help you whenever you go into meetings. You want to make sure you capture what will close this fastest. And I know from experience, if you settle my pain points, and the funny part is, and this is where listening comes in very handy. Customers might have 5 pain points. One of them is a pain point in December. One of the pain points won't even allow them go to work next week, Monday, right? So when you listen closely, when you are dealing with pain points of December, which will make that deal extend to December, or when you're talking to them to deal with the pain points for next week, Monday. If somebody has a pain point for next week, Monday, you solve that pain point for next week, Monday. That deal is closed today, being a Saturday. So one of the things, core skills you have to have is, as you go into these meetings, take your time. It's not a thing of just rushing into your presentation. If you can even start with that question, good. What are the things I can solve for you? What are the problems affecting you today that some of my solutions can help you? What are those things? That's the core of what you want to do. I want to speak to your pain points. I don't want to even sell anything, right? In fixing those pain points, you've sold. So, Elizabeth, one of the things you should just do is tend to listen well, right? And be able to speak to. You have meetings where you go in and what you have is not what they want. Have a way to just have a buffer where they can wait for you to bring that thing they want, so that you still close the deal. Closing deals, I think, is much faster than even outbound reach, if you ask me. You just have to speak to what exactly that person wants, and then it's a done deal.
All right, thanks, Elvis. Elizabeth, you're on the call, so I hope your question has been answered well. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Kamaria is asking, quickest way to break into tech sales. We've already answered that. Kamaria is also asking, realistically, what salary should we seek or expect? So you're breaking into tech sales as a newbie, starting out. What should be your salary expectation?
Tamara, so that the typical answer every one of us used to answer is, there is a salary band for this role. I'm happy to hear what you have to say. Yeah, that one is very generic. But as a newbie, I don't think the salary should be the focus. Honestly, I don't think so, because if you play your cards right, the person giving you the opportunity would do a greater good by you coming in, gaining the experience through them to catapult you to a higher salary band. Do you get? So today you come into a role and it's not even something you want. I don't think the right answer to this question is 100K or 200K, 300K. Every company has their structure, right? They have what some companies place the highest premium on salespeople, even more than their developers. Some people just place the lowest priority on the salespeople. So that's kind of like company specific. But as a beginner, which is my focus, you want to try and make sure that you use them to gain that experience. I use, GTBank formed me. I can't have one slander against GTBank ever, no matter what they do, because I got in there, they trained me, and I always just use the experience to now negotiate. Now, after you've gained the knowledge, you now know what to do and you do it well. When you go to the next company, right? And of course, you can have this with the line manager of the current company to say that you've upskilled. You're no longer a newbie. You now know what to do. You can have that with them, but typically this is Nigeria. So you can have that with the next company. That now becomes the money maker for you. Do you get? So first is to learn. Whatever it is you want to pay, give it to me, because the end game is the strategy is having to know, having someone look at your CV next time and say, you're not a beginner. You've done this here for 2 years, 3 years. Now, what can we pay you? And that's where the negotiation comes in. If you start with salary as a newbie, you might not even get the role. That's just to start with, because nobody wants to place a big bet on somebody that is a starter, right? So if you let them know that the experience does the magic for you, whatever it is, just take it, and then now have the strategy that learn as much as you can, and then you now go into your earning phase in your next strike. That'll be my answer.
So Lucky Mark has another interesting question. It says, what happens when the product breaks and fails on the premises to the point that it renders retention non-sticky and negates the job of the salesperson? So basically a bad product.
So when you go into sales, Lucky, I think Lucky asked, when you go into sales, it's a professional environment and it's a professional setting, but this is a trick I use. Find a way to make it more personal and very less professional. You do it at the beginning when everything is still smooth. That will come in, and that the dividends of that will come in when things will go bad. So today I have CTOs that will call me by 11 a.m. I'll have CTOs call me at 12 midnight, and I pick the call and offer you the same service that even they know is unprofessional to reach out to me at that time, but they see the willingness I am to make it personal. Your friend will call you anytime, right? So I'll tell you that most of my business people and sales people have become my friends. It's so good, and if you run with that strategy, when things go bad, you see them even tell you before things escalate. They call you and tell you that, see what's happening. Can we find a way to fix this? They become your advocate. You go to a company where if you leave it and professionally, you come in, you sell to them, they move on, everything is professional. When things break, they hit you with a professional hammer. And when things break, that's not the time to now get personal. It's already too late. Because everything they see you doing then is eye service. Things are going bad. Why? They already hate you, right? So this is a strategy you should just have under your sleeves. Go in professionally, sell the product. Try to kind of draw that professional relationship down to, of course, I know ladies here are salespeople, and I don't want to put you in the wrong light, but let it be a form of a friendship. Let it be that, this is a situation whereby everything doesn't just go on emails, right? Proper emails, no. They can reach out to you, and there are simple tips to do this one. On their birthdays, tell them happy birthday. On their wife's birthday, tell the wife happy birthday, or send a message. They have an anniversary at the office, send them something. Just lessen that professional relationship to somewhere around friend and still professional. That way, I can assure you, when the hammer of professionalism comes in, they will either give you heads up or they will protect you in meetings you are not in. I can tell you for free. So I think and these are small tips that I've learned from experience. right? When you do, professional suits, banker, professional. And when things go bad, you're not a technical person. You didn't code the solution. So things can go bad. And then when things go bad, the heat is heavy. But I've had people that I was professional with, I tried to, be more of a friend kind of the company. I go to their company events. When things go bad, they speak in those rooms and say, oh no, this is not Elvis product. I'm sure it's an industry thing. They just generalize it. And then they come back to me and give me the heads up in meetings I would never know that I'll be slaughtered in. I think that's what has worked so far. If you can find a way to do it, maintain the balance, of course, I think you'll do good. You don't have any control over when things break, but you can have a control over how to do will I say chaos handling? Do you get? I think that works.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. So someone is asking, very important question. How can someone with interest in product management leverage sales skills to improve on their career as a product manager?
Okay, thanks. So just the same way the sales guys have to do a lot of convincing and negotiating and persuading with external customers. I think for PMs, what you have to do is that same skill, but for your internal guys, your devs, your front end guys, your back end guys, your stakeholders, whoever is in charge of laying the product roadmap. So yes, so if you should do some things that have to do with sales. So if a sales guy is going for a training on negotiation, I think you should attend things like that too, because your customers are not external people. Your own customers are internal, and that's probably the only difference. You still need to let people know that yes, you can do stuff. They should like. I know when I did some product management, all the front end guys were my friends. I tell them that please do this thing for me, even though time is out, even though things are difficult. They just found a way to. I found a way to persuade them to do things for me, and that same taking things to some personal level. People will do favors for you that is not part of their role, is stressful. They want to give it longer sprints for them to accomplish it. But because of that kind of persuasion, that negotiation skills you've imbibed, it will definitely help you in engaging with your internal guys to make sure you deliver on your timelines.
All right, thanks, Elvis. So on to the very last question. We've been here for quite some time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thanks everyone for your time. On to the last question. Someone is asking, what courses are great for venturing into tech sales? We've already established that sales is more of an experience-based career compared to courses. But then, if you were to take courses, would you prescribe maybe MBAs or online courses? What courses or what learning paths would you prescribe for someone who is interested in furthering their learnings?
So I think every form of learning is a good path. It's just some are more effective than the others, right? If you have to do an MBA, I think an MBA is a good catch because they focus on management and business. I think you should go to sales events. There's a lot of sales focused events here and there. It will improve your learning. The thing with sales events is people talking to you as sales uh people talking to you as salespeople. So they're just downloading their experience. Some of the insights I've given to you today are things I got from experience. So you didn't have to fail and now know the right thing to do. I've failed. I've known where I failed. I've just shared it with you right now. So it will help you to just start. So sales events, go and do an MBA. I think that's good. Talk to mentors, right? Let them tell you what happens. One-on-one interaction is fine. This type of community, please join everyone that you see ever. Any sales community you see, just join. Do you get? They've helped me so much, and I will always be part of all of them. Do you get? And try as much as possible to do some personal YouTube study. Most of these things are online now. People that have done very well in sales, Microsoft, Apple, just learn how to do things, and then you'll just be an all-rounded person. Don't have just a one size fits all, right? So don't just have one road to getting it done. Have all of them because you definitely learn from all of them. But by far, communities like this is just fantastic. I think like kudos to the team, communities like this, to just have this one-on-one, like this is like a master class, right? And then you can learn, and then you can also share with others.
Thank you so much, Elvis, and thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Yeah, I'm reading the comment section. Great. Okay, so announcement. Please feel free to connect with Elvis on LinkedIn. He's very active on LinkedIn. Feel free to also join the community. I always tease him about LinkedIn. He's really active on LinkedIn. Feel free to also join TSP community. I've left the link in the chat box. And if you're new here, TSP community is Tech Sales and Partnerships community. And we organize events like this. We also have physical events. We have a structured mentoring program ongoing. We have amazing things. We post about jobs for people within the community. So feel free to join us. We're a cool bunch. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you so much, Elvis, for making out the time. I hope we all enjoyed this session because it was an amazing session. Yes, everyone, have a wonderful night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Yeah.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic one.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Elvis. Thank you so much, Dara. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Elvis. Thank you so much, Dara.
Bye, Chimezie. Okay.